Some noise, guys, make some noise. We are now on the AI, FinTech, and Digital Disruption. AI, FinTech, and Digital Disruption. And joining us on this panel, we have Kim Lynn Temple from Tipped. Kim Lynn Temple. Kim, where are you?
Come on,
there you go. Give it for Kim, guys. Give it up. Give it up for Kim. Amazing. And don't forget, we are live on VooVix TV and YouTube. We're live now. Kim, how are you? Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm so good. And you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine, thank you. Now, look, before we even start, I'm going to go all the way back to AI, right? What is AI? All right? And obviously, we are in 2025. And it reminds me of back in the day when the internet was here. And how can you make AI work for you? Because a lot of people are like, AI is going to take a lot of jobs. It's going to take jobs. How can you make AI work for you?
I mean, the basis of AI, artificial intelligence, as we all know, I think there are many misconceptions to it, right? As you say, I think it's seen as a job killer in many instances. And I think many people are fearful of that. I think it's seen as something that's new. But in actual fact, it's not. It's old. It's been around for a long time. I mean, it's in our banking. It's in so many things that we experience on a day-to-day basis. It's been there. It's been there for a long time. It's just that it's constantly evolving. And for me, I think I see it far more as a supporter than a replacer. So it's there to support. It's there to aid. And if we see it that way and we use it constructively, it's powerful. It's extremely powerful.
Definitely. I know you're from Tipped, right? And Tipped is nominated for the NITAs, the National Innovation and Technology Awards. So tell us a little bit about what Tipped does and how AI plays a part in what you guys do.
So Tipped is, in essence, it's a digital tipping and gratuity solution. I think we've all been in that situation. Reversing out of a parking lot at a shopping center, filling your car up with fuel, wanting to show your gratitude, wanting to show your appreciation, or just to say thanks. I see you, I support you, I want to give you a tip. If you're anything like me, I never carry cash on me. I have two beautiful children, but if I do carry or have any cash, it's gone. They clear out my bag, they clear out my purse, it's gone. And so I find myself in the situation where more often than not, I don't have cash and I feel like my hands are tied. And I just can't say thank you and I cannot support, right? And so 5 years ago, it led me to the point of thinking, I need to change this, I need to fix it, and I need to find a solution. And so I've developed a digital gratuity solution whereby you can scan a QR code, send a tip across to a tippee, be it a fuel attendant, a car guard, whoever it may be. They receive their funds immediately, they can transact. But on top of this, we've created this incredible ecosystem where we can empower and uplift. We're bringing in retirement annuities, pension funds, cross-border remittance, and we're making this available and accessible to anyone from any background and any walk of life. And that's the thing that excites me more than anything else. And it's using AI to do this.
And that's amazing. And it's, you know, someone was asking about businesses that have a social impact. So my next question is, how do you ensure that it's profitable? So how does that kind of turn around into profits?
I think it's really important to start in any business that you go in, any entrepreneur sort of venture that you go in, particularly social entrepreneurship as well. If you can start by identifying a problem as opposed to just an idea, right? Going in, identifying their problem, and a problem where you can go in and solve and have a tangible difference, create that tangible difference, and human change, I think, is so, so vital. And I think if you can carry that through, as I say, that's what we're doing. It's the heart of Tipped, is to use AI, to use and be a digital disruptor, to be a disruptor in such in that you can revolutionize things. And I think you can only revolutionize anything if you actually go in and you disrupt. So I think in terms of social upliftment, there is so much potential in that, because you're having accessibility to anyone. As I say, you're bringing solutions forward that is obtainable and accessible to anyone.
100%.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Kim.
Yep.
You know, when banking was moving from being paper to being digitized, and how a lot of people found loopholes in terms of, trying to beat the system and, doing things that are illegal. Do you think that AI sort of minimizes that, or are there ways that you guys have put in place to make sure that that doesn't happen? Because I think, you know, a lot of people are scared. I'm scared personally because I've watched iRobot. That's where my brain goes when I think AI. So have you guys put measures in place to make sure that it's that much more difficult for people to be able to find loopholes and bypass whatever's been put in place?
Absolutely, and I think it's a very valid, very real concern. I really do. I've seen it, you know, with launching Tipped and going into the industries that I've gone into the fuel attendants, whoever it may be, to develop that trust and that confidence around what you're trying to do. And in banking as such, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, for Tipped, it's been a massive learning curve for me. We are dealing with people's finance at the end of the day, and we are trusting them to trust in a digital platform. We're taking physical cash out of hands and we're putting and making that digital, and the use of that and the transaction of that and everything. I mean, we are really changing mindsets and I think reimagining traditional models as well, so much so. And yes, there are all those degrees, and I think of security and surety, you know, in that process. But it does take time. As you're saying, you know, it takes a lot of time to develop that trust and confidence in that. But thanks to AI, thanks to the verification software that we use, the validation, checking liveness and liveness checks, that I think creates that security and brings extra and additional levels constantly into what we're doing.
Definitely. Now you are talking about AI. You have actually made some good with it, right? So for a lot of people that think AI is going to take jobs and things like that, how do they use AI now? So for example, ChatGPT, how do they learn how to use prompts to their own benefits? What would you advise? Because obviously, if you're in that sector, you'll be working a lot with prompts, you'll be working a lot with different AI softwares that are coming out. So how do you make sure you turn that to become financially? There's a lot of people that want to launch businesses and they want to use AI to facilitate the businesses, just like back in the day when people were launching businesses and they used the internet to facilitate their businesses. How do they use AI to incorporate that within their businesses? How do they use things like ChatGPT to really learn how to prompt properly to get what they actually need to get?
It's funny, I've been testing out a lot of prompts lately, and I find them so intuitive, and it's just getting better and better, which fascinates me. It's honestly amazing. And I think where I see the benefit in it is, sure, you know, we like at Tipped, we're using AI, we're using it all to make change, but a positive change, and we're using it in the right way. But I think if you can take AI and you can structure it in a way that it takes over the repetitive tasks of someone, right? As a CEO myself, in a day, I deal with multiple different things, juggling multiple different things, wearing different hats. And if I can use AI to help take away those mundane tasks, those repetitive tasks, to just take a bit of the thinking for me and do it for me, so that I, as an entrepreneur, and I think in many situations, as an entrepreneur, it allows you to dream. It allows you to reimagine it. AI, what it can't do is it can't see possibilities. It can't see that hope in possibilities that are out there. But you can. So hand that over, give that over. Let AI do that, you know. I mean, there's days where I've got to write a piece of content. I've got to think, and there's just days where the words, I just can't find the words, right? Using ChatGPT, it's there. It helps. So let's use it constructively in that way.
Right. So I'm playing angel's advocate now. You know, back in the day, writing, this is old school, writing was hardcore. You see, you're looking at me like that. Writing was hardcore. Now, a lot of people type. Back in the day, I used to remember people's phone numbers on the top of my head. Now you can do it, calculators now. Do you think overuse of AI could be damaging to your own natural abilities?
I think it can. I agree with you there. I think it can take away that level of authenticity. Absolutely. It's like anything. I think it's got to be used constructively. Anything has to be, right? But I do feel like there's so much potential in it. I feel like more so than being something that can destroy, I think there is so much potential to it in using it as good. And there's so many instances where I've been so extremely grateful for it. just a silly example, but so I'm a mom to 2 kids. My son is 13 years old, and he's doing Cambridge maths. I could never do maths at school. I was absolutely awful at it, even though I landed up in the programming world and in the tech space and everything. Absolutely useless. And he came to me the other day with his homework, and it was algebra and fractions, and I sat there looking at this, and I just thought, I have no idea. And I literally downloaded an app where you scan the question, it reads it for you, it shows various ways to work it out, and it gave the answer. Now, I look at that, and I just think, that didn't take away my role as a mom. That doesn't mean I'm less of a mom. But what it did mean is that I could actually support him. I could help him grow. I could help teach him. I could help support him in that space and in that time. And so I think with anything, you know, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You've got to give it a go. If it weren't for AI, if it weren't for the abilities and the power within it, I wouldn't have what I have in Tipped. I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. I mean, through Tipped alone,
yes,
we are doing incredible things.
Yes.
And it is all thanks to AI. And it's thanks to coming in and being a bit of a disruptor, you know, in that digital space.
Amazing.
Sorry. Do you not feel that AI is sort of taking away, I know you said, you know, it's removing a level of authenticity, but do you not feel, without using too many words, that it's making people lazy? In the sense that, I'll just ask for an example. So when you asked for the math sum and the answer, did the answers or the steps to getting to the answer give you an idea of how to get to the answer for you to explain to your son? Or was it just a matter of him copying the answer? I don't know if you see what I'm trying to ask.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. And it's actually something that, a question I wanted to bring back to you as well, because I find it quite a difficult one, is at schools, what is the way forward? Is the way forward allowing schools to teach using AI, using ChatGPT, or is it not allowed and is it banned? And I think it's quite a debatable thing.
It's a debatable question. For me personally, I think it's each to their own, right? So for my kids, complete natural, you know, complete natural. But for business, because you, as in business, you have to grow to where business is. You have to go where the voice is. So it's important to go with a trend. You have to be eager as a business. But I think kids, the reason why I say that is that, for example, my 4-year-old just spoke for a second. Now, my 4-year-old doesn't have a phone, right? And I've seen 4-year-olds with a phone, because I didn't have a phone at 4 years old, right? And giving a child a phone at 4 years old is mental, right? But it's the same thing I think about technology, right? We have to be, for me, I personally think it's an age thing. You have to be, as adults, we can make that decision. We can dip in and dip out. Like ChatGPT, you can turn around and become, ChatGPT can end up being your best friend. You don't have any social friends anymore. You're talking to ChatGPT 24/7. You're having conversations and arguments. You're going to go mad. So you don't want to do that.
That is so true. That is me and ChatGPT is my best friend.
Exactly. Yeah, you start having arguments with ChatGPT at 3 a.m. in the morning about each issues. Yeah, do that document like this. I'm like, relax, you know what I mean? So you don't want to go mad, and you don't want to teach a kid that. So I think there's got to be, because with everything in life, there's got to be, even TV, I mean, there's got to be a balance, right? We're adults, right? We're able to take something and do the best with it. Electricity can be used to cook and do evil, right? Good and evil. So
Absolutely.
you're able as an adult to kind of do something. Introducing it to kids, that's where I think I draw the line. But that's my personal view. I don't know about you guys.
As I say, it's a difficult one. I think because it is there, I mean, we cannot escape it. We don't want to, right? But teach it and teach the use of it wisely. So I think if it's taught with guidelines, if it's taught with respect, as you say, I mean, we can dip in and dip out. We can. A friend of mine the other day recently, she broke up with a boyfriend, and she started chatting to ChatGPT about this, and literally
ChatGPT ends up being a new boyfriend.
Yeah, but she copied and pasted the conversations that they had on WhatsApp, and ChatGPT became like a psychologist and was actually talking her through and said, "You handled this really well." And she said it was the best best friend that you'd ever had and worked through a situation. And I mean, that's just hilarious. But I think that's exactly it. It's knowing when to use it and how to use it. And I think at schools, if there is value in teaching how to use this, because it's going to be there and it's going to evolve, how to use it, but how to use it properly, absolutely. Going back to, can it take away and can it actually change perceptions? Because it can, I think, very easily. It can take, as I say, it can take authenticity away. It can take realness away. So there is always that measure of how to use things. But as you say, anything can be seen in that light in life.
No, I like it. So we have Kim from Tipped here. I'm going to throw the audience, because obviously AI emerging, right? I look at this panel like a panel I would have done 30 years ago about the internet. So emerging economy, you've actually taken the bull by the horn and started a business that's nominated for National Innovation and Technology Awards for using AI. So,
Jordan?
Yes, go
sorry,
on.
just before you throw to the audience,
Go on.
Since we're on the topic of ChatGPT,
Yes.
you spoke about prompts.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people don't know what that means. Like,
Yes. What
so
are
if,
prompts?
for example, I'll just give you a scenario. If you are going to be presenting a keynote speech at, I don't know, an agricultural event, what prompts would you give to ChatGPT to give that speech to you while also making sure that speech is you?
It's a good question.
It's a really good question. I think I tested this out the other day, and I needed to write a bio and basically put in there and said, the instruction, gave it to it, said, write a short bio for Kimlin Temple at tip.biz, and it literally brought it up. And it brought up and it captured the essence of Tipped and what that is. And so much of Tipped is driven off heart, it's driven off compassion, it's driven off empowerment and upliftment and all of that, tipping the scales of inequality. It captured that all, which was quite fascinating to me. But I think it's the messages that are sent continuously and stored anyway. And I think it just takes that and grabs it, obviously. But you can throughout, so say for example, you were doing a keynote speech, which I've done before, tested it out, write a keynote speech for Kimlin Temple on Tipped, literally worked it out beautifully. There were some things that I felt like needed a bit more of me, absolutely. So then you prompt it that way, bring a bit more of this in, bring a bit more of that in, and it just moves with it, which is incredible. And that to me is fascinating.
Definitely.
Beautiful.
This is Kim, this is not AI, right? This is definitely Kim, right? Okay, all right, so I'm going to throw the questions to the audience. AI, very important, very important. That's the next future. Anyone, any questions in terms of AI? Let's go to here first, and then we go to you on that side as well. Let's go.
Hey. Sorry, we can't hear Potato.
Hi, my name is Khotato, and I'm a final year IT student. So I have two questions actually. So the first one, do you think fintech will make carrying cash totally obsolete one day, or will we always need a bit of paper money? And then the second question, as digital disruption accelerates, do you think there's a specific sector in the IT, like cybersecurity, cloud computing, or data analytics, that will become increasingly crucial for businesses?
So I'm going to say the first question is fintech and cash. Is fintech going to make cash obsolete? And she'll answer that question, and you're going to answer your second question again. So let's start with that question.
Perfect. I love that question. Thank you so much for the question. And I think it's interesting to see the path of this and the roadmap in terms of society going completely cashless. But it is a reality in that it is. So much of, I mean, when I started Tipped, I literally went in thinking, I don't carry cash, I want to show my appreciation, let me develop a solution around this. But it was only through my proof of concept and through my very first pilot with 18 car guards that I started seeing enormous opportunity to actually bring forth, I think, solutions, but to bring forth a cashless society, because it is so needed and needs to be supported, and that so many individuals in South Africa particularly were getting left behind in this. An interesting story, and it's one that I hold so close to heart, and it became a core why of why I started Tipped. And as I say, when I started, I sort of looked at it as, oh, I can maybe provide a way and means to send a digital tip across, but I flipped this completely because of my proof of concept, because of these 18 car guards that I started with. And it's, as I say, it's a story I tell so often, but David, one of the car guards that I started with 5 years ago, signed him up, gave him his digital wallet, his corresponding QR code, said to him, well, let's try, let's put this out there and let's see what happens. He started receiving tips. 3 days later, after signing him up, he was attacked, brutally attacked. He was stabbed, everything was taken from him, robbed, everything, from the cash he had on hand, his cell phone, his cards, everything. I'd obviously built up a really good relationship with David over the course of the proof of concept. So I went to go see him the next day, checked in with him, and when I got there, I mean, he covered in wounds. It was horrific. But getting there, he was excited when he saw me, and I couldn't quite understand it. And he said to me, Kim, for the first time ever, I have 300 Rand worth of tips sitting in my tip digital wallet that you gave me that they couldn't touch. It's still mine, I still own it, I still have power over it. And as much as the world may move into a cashless society, we don't know how far that's going to go and how far that's going to evolve. His story remains so deep and so true to me that it became, as I say, one of my motivating factors to say, there are so many people in South Africa, as I say, that are getting left behind. We need to include them in this. And through my solution, I can do that. I can bring in a cashless society. I can bring in and support a cashless world that I think we all need to move forward with. But just seeing that and living that just even slightly through his eyes and through his experience really made me think, hang on, I need to create something here where we can actually use this as a conduit for change, where we can use this in a positive way. And for me, that's important. As I say, where this goes, I don't know. Does it mean that everything is one day going to be completely paperless? I don't know. But what I do know is that we need to move forward, and nobody can be left behind in that.
I love what you just said, Kim. Sorry to hop on your question, but you said something very interesting that, we are moving towards a cashless society. I know that there are certain areas in China that are completely cashless, right? But that's China. This is South Africa, and it's a completely different climate in terms of people's mindsets, in terms of how things are socially. So what challenges do you think you'll have as a person who champions a cashless society within South Africa when you try to implement that in this country?
Well, you're bringing forth change, and you, as I was saying earlier, you are changing traditional models, you are changing mindsets that have been around for a very long time. I think a lot of people find safety and security in having cash in hand, right? But on the flip side of that, it's also not safe. It exposes you, and I mean, my vision for Tipped is if it can become an ecosystem or a currency within informal sectors, take away the dangers and the risks of carrying cash. Take that away completely. We will not solve everything, but we will certainly help. And I think yes, it takes time, as I was saying earlier as well, when I put this in the hands of those 18 car guards and all the other pilots that I've done since then, I've basically gone and said, well, let's test this out, let's see what happens. But knowing full well that I'm going in and changing a complete mindset that has been around far longer than what I have in decades, right? And now I'm going in and I'm going, I need to flip this. And that takes a lot. I mean, it's taken a lot of observation in terms of user journeys, spend journeys. It was funny when I first launched it and watching the sort of user journey of funds coming into our Tipped. So every recipient gets a Tipped digital wallet, right? Imagine it like you get your bank account. So like you would get a Capitec account, Absa account. We give them a Tipped bank account. The tip goes directly into that. What we would see was an immediate, as the money came in, got sent out, either withdrawn into physical cash or sent to another bank account. Now what we're seeing, and it's been a beautiful journey, is that our banking platform is actually being used as a saving platform. I mean, for car guards, they're actually saving funds so that they can create their own businesses. We've increased revenue by 40%, which is huge, right? Now we're seeing through this, people are starting to spend within our ecosystem, within our environment. That brings me a lot of hope, but it takes time. I mean, it does not happen overnight, and I'm not expecting it to either.
So you're basically eating one bite at a time.
Absolutely.
And the elephant eventually will.
Amazing use cases, yeah. You had another question quickly. What was the question again?
As digital disruption accelerates, do you think there's a specific sector within the IT that will become increasingly crucial for businesses?
Absolutely, I do think so. I think just data alone that we can obtain through this, but again, you have to be ethical in handling your data. As you were saying earlier, anything can be used constructively or deconstructively,
100%.
right? I mean, and to go back to Tipped, what we're doing with our data, which it's beautiful, but we are taking and being able to pick up trends in what is bought because with our wallet you can spend directly at till point at stores, right?
Okay.
We are able to see what brands of what products are being bought. But now, what do I want to do with that data? I want to use it and go, okay, we can see that this is sort of a basket in which we can provide these goods at cost price or at discounted prices. So it's using your data constructively. Another part of it, and as again, just a beautiful, I think, incentive that's come out of this. We've launched with Cecil, and we're going countrywide with Cecil. That's 17,000 fuel attendants, which is amazing. But with this,
Come on, guys. Yeah. It's amazing.
Thank you. And it's not to brag, but it's to say we are reaching like 17,000 fuel attendants,
Amazing.
right? But what I love is that through what we're doing, by giving each fuel attendant their own digital wallet, we are able to provide Cecil, management, and retailers with data and information as to what's happening on their forecourt. So with the consent of the user, Cecil now have full reports on what type of tips are being received, what are those values of tips, what fuel attendant has earned what amount, and how many tips have they earned, which is a direct correlation and reflection on customer service and satisfaction on the forecourt. Taking that a step further, we give that information to Cecil, to their management, and they can see trends. They're using this to compare to litres pumped in a day, just because now they have insight into what their fuel attendants are getting as a tip, what their feedback is from their customers, right? But now Cecil, what they've done as a corporate, which I absolutely love, is they have said, okay, well, now that we can see which fuel attendant is earning what amount, the fuel attendant that earns the highest in tips, we're going to double their fuel attendant.
That's good.
tip.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's good.
that
Yeah,
to
I
me is
like
beautiful.
amazing,
that.
right?
Yeah, I like that. Yes, come on. That's using AI for good. All right. So, any other questions out there? Thank you very much for you. Any other questions out there? Any questions? You had one. The gentleman up there. You had a question first, right? You good? Mic to the gentleman up there.
My name's David Armstrong. Firstly, I'm going to flip it twice, upside down. I was going to make a statement on AI first, but Kim, I just want to carry on with what your testimony you've just had. Firstly, it's incredible, incredibly humbling as well. You strike me as the epitome of entrepreneurship. You started with a simple idea in a parking lot, no idea where to go, where it was going to go or anything like that, okay? And you ran with it. But then the other key thing that I want to tie back to what was said very earlier, which was awesome, AJ and Chelsea. Key thing they mentioned was seeing resilience. And I think that's what you're showing, which is so powerful and going through so much. The question I wanted to ask you as well, with regards to AI, because you went into this, I don't know what your background is technically or anything like that, but you went into this with an idea, and then it would have to be put into functionality with apps, software, and all that kind of stuff, and then such an integration, banking and everything. I don't know how much you knew about that, but assuming that not much, you mentioned AI. One of the problems in developing apps and software through others is getting your idea across succinctly enough that they can cut to the chase and then actually deliver what you want rather than something which seems to be what you like and you are none the wiser because you are not technical or whatever. Where I'm going with that is you mentioned AI. What I wanted to ask you, because out of that there would be a structure and a plan for this company, and as your vision got bigger, I would imagine, but there again, perhaps, I don't know what your background is, whether you were able to develop that plan, or how much did you lean on AI, and then out of that AI, intuitively with your questioning, you came up with an increasing plan, and then I was wondering more keenly, the technical side, did AI guide and play much of a point in pointing to areas that would actually complement and what kind of apps and technical expertise you would need? I won't go into my statement afterwards. I just want to leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the kind words as well. I really appreciate that. I think resilience will just run through my answer completely because, I mean, in terms of my background, to start with that, so I'm a programmer, I'm a developer myself. Don't know how I fell into that, but did, and absolutely loved it. That programming bug really bit. And, you know, we were talking earlier about writing stuff on paper being old school. When I was studying, this gives away my age, but when I was studying, I studied at Funsale and Pritchard, and we literally, C++ and Java programmer, we literally had to write our code out, pencil and paper, and that's how we wrote our code. And now I look at ChatGPT, and you can ask it and prompt it to write a bit of code for you, and it, boop, there it goes. And I just think, you bugger. That's so unfair. But it's fascinating at the same time, and I think it's super constructive as well. But so that's my background, is programming and development. I worked for a company called Derivco, fascinating company. We actually developed online casinos. They're the biggest online casino company in the world. Worked for them for over 10 years. Amazing. It was an amazing place to sort of, I grew up there, you know, in my 20s, and it allowed me to get into that world, and actually found myself in QA, so quality assurance of code. So that was finding bugs and troubleshooting code. So literally sitting with pages and pages of code, troubleshooting it, finding the errors, and then solving it. And I found a lot of enjoyment in that. And looking back, you know, you always reflect on why and where and how your life took you. And I think it is that it's looking at gaps in the market, it's looking at problems, real life problems, and being able to troubleshoot that and finding solutions for it. I love that, and that's really where my heart is. And it has by no means been an easy feat or an easy journey. TIPT has been going for 5 years now. Started it just before COVID, and did not know anything about fintech. I didn't know anything about the fintech space. I had to learn very, very quickly. I did not know anything about sort of going into creating a digital wallet, what that meant. I literally was learning on the fly, as I still am today. I feel like I'm winging it on a daily basis, but I have learned along the way, and I've had to learn, but it's been a beautiful journey in that. And I think sometimes going in a little bit naive to things and fumbling your way through, it takes the blinkers off, because there are no limitations to at all as to what you can possibly do. So I drive my developers nuts. So just to go back to your question, a lot of the time I've had to rely on third parties or plug-in APIs that can come in and do what we've needed. I mean, Smile ID is our verification software. So we make use of them to verify and validate the way we have, and that's our AI sort of part of our registration process. I've got a development team, as I say, I drive them dilly because I don't have those blinkers. So I come in there thinking, well, what if? What if
it can be done?
Being naive in some ways, you have that curiosity, and that curiosity sparks that change.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, Kimberlyn, you have inspired us today in terms of AI. I think you guys have learned a lot. Another question again for you? I think you have one. Do you want to say something quickly, and then I'll give it to her?
Sorry, that actually segues directly into my second statement that I wanted to make.
Yeah.
You were mentioning AI, okay, in terms of the prompting and all that kind of stuff, and now I very clearly understand why you're able to get what you wanted out of it. Because one of the things I've found with my limited experience, I'm not a programmer in accounting, but I think much like that, okay? In my use of AI, I find it very important to be specific what you're asking, know what you're asking for, and stay on the focus, because AI will also go out of and you'll end up with a whole rigmarole. Having said that, I think one of the other key things that one's got to realize or think, it is a tool where it is just making it much faster for you to access data which you would have to go and source years ago, encyclopedias, people, etc., etc. So you can ask questions and come up with this wonderful thing, and it's not usable. But you ask questions from a point of knowledge, like you are, clearly with the programming. It's succinct, but that is simply going out there and it will pull out all the stuff that you need. So if you're talking more ground roots, if you are doing a project, you don't have all the encyclopedias. You ask the questions, it will go and pull all that information for you, and then you download it, and then you can actually use it.
Yes.
So I just wanted to say, and it's profound, and it's awesome that you said that you were programming, because it actually sums it up. AI is a tool. It is not very useful if you're just going to play around with questions and you don't know what you're asking.
Yes.
Thank you.
Kim?
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback on what he's saying, because while you were speaking, I was thinking the exact same thing that he just said, that, you know, it's so important. That's why I asked you the question earlier about prompts, that if you don't know what to prompt, then AI or ChatGPT is basically useless to you. So I think, are you guys, particularly in your company, are you doing any sort of programs where you teach people how to prompt on ChatGPT? Because, you know, it literally goes to the point that you're asking if you prompt correctly, and it removes the mess of Google, having to Google something and you have to choose and pick the right answer. Whereas with AI or ChatGPT, if you know exactly what to prompt, yes, it might bring up a whole lot, but you need to know how to bring it back, because it can diverge and go its own way sometimes. So does your company have programs where you are teaching people how to prompt? Because I think that's very important.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's a very good point. And I think it can be a rabbit hole. I think you can get lost in, as you say, if you're searching on your own and you're searching in a way, it absolutely can be. But again, it is a tool. It's, you know, having a toolbox in your garage full of tools, it's just going to sit there, but knowing where to use it, when to use it, but actually using it yourself, bringing in that human element, directing it in the way that it needs to be directed, that's when it's extremely powerful. But I think, so to your point, and to answer our dev team that we are partnered with, they are just starting now to launch education sort of talks and just segments really where they can educate on a lot of this. And I think it's a really good idea.
It's very important. Yeah, no, it's definitely important. We have one last question from the lady here. One last question. Go for it. Stand up. Tell us where you're from, your name.
Good day. My name is Jessica Ramova.
Speak a little bit louder. Put the mic right into your, yes.
My name is Jessica Ramova, and I would like to ask, how can the digital wallets be protected from being hacked?
So we said that again. It's a little bit louder.
How can the digital wallets be protected from being hacked?
How can the digital world be protected from being hacked? That is a multi-billion-pound question. Yeah. I'll let you do it.
It's been a big thing. I mean, going into this has by no means not been scary, because, as I say, you know, you're dealing with people's money at the end of the day. You have to be trustworthy. But at the same time, so our digital wallet, we are governed by the South African Reserve Bank. All our funds are, we do have an FSP and a TPPP, so that's basically a financial service provider, and a third-party payments platform and program. So we are governed by all those initiatives. Every transaction that takes place is handled and held by a nominee company, and all funds are held across your various banking institutions that we have. So there are multiple levels of security in that. I think, never mind being in South Africa, we live in a world where people are always going to try and come in and try and do things that they shouldn't do. Yeah. But it's something that we obviously take very seriously, and by being governed the way we are, by doing the KYC and AML checks that we do for every registration, that's how we've secured our platform.
Fantastic, brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, that was so inspiring. Come on, give it up for Kim.
Thank
Kim,
you.
oh, you got one
There's
more?
one more.
Oh, it's the last one. This is the last one because, yeah, go on. Because we have another panel coming up. Go on, go for it. There you go. You always got to switch it on.
Hi, I'm Linda. I'm an accounting student.
Speak a little bit louder.
I'm Linda. I'm an accounting student, and I had a question about AI. So it's more like a way to put down fears because in my class there's a whole debate about how AI is going to make the need for accountants, people who manage money but also track these investments, is going to become obsolete. And I had a whole giant argument saying, how can something that's meant to really improve our lives going to put you out of work? At the end of the day, human hands are needed. So I wanted to ask, with AI and finance, because I heard you were with FinTech and that's a company I've always wanted to work for. So with AI and how it improves finance, how is it helping accountants do their job better or help them do it more effectively? Because this fear is valid. People are getting put out of jobs or having this technological disruption, and people are scared now that a computer or something that doesn't even have a heartbeat is going to replace them. I don't think that's true. I love technology. I've always loved technology. It's made my life better. I did not do accounting in school, and when I picked it up, because of AI, I was able to learn and fully grasp these concepts. I didn't know what a ledger was till yesterday. So how do you put those fears aside,
What was the actual question?
Oh, the actual
What was your
question, how does
question?
AI help accountants or help people in these finance industries to do their job more effectively?
How does AI help people in the financial industry do their job more effectively, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think that AI, as I was saying earlier, AI has been around for a very long time, and it's been in the finance industry more so than anywhere else, I feel. And I think it's one of the leading markets as such where AI is propelling forward at an immense rate, is in finance and retail, but in finance specifically. In terms of it taking away and building that trust in it, as I was saying, I think it can take away those mundane tasks. I think it can take away the roles of repetitive tasks. It can take that off your plate so that thoughts and new ideas, new structures, that can be done from a human element. That I think that would be my advice on that, is really it's there, it's going to continually evolve, so use it constructively. I do not feel at all that it is a job killer, not at all. I really don't. I feel that it is a supporter, more so than anything else. And I believe that it's just going to continue to grow in that way too.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Kim from Tips. Fantastic, fantastic speaker. Thank you very
so
much, Kim. And Kim is also nominated for the National Innovation and Technology Awards, which we're going to be announcing the winners shortly. But we have another panel coming in the next 5 minutes, so stay where you are. From one Kim to another is the business of entertainment in South Africa. We got Kim Jade and Lebogang Lejoy joining that panel, the business of entertainment in South Africa. Kim from TIP, thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kim.
All right.
Thank you so much.
For those watching at home, VooVix TV, we'll be back in 5 minutes with the business, the future business of entertainment in South Africa. Stay tuned, stay where you are, and the next we will be with Kim Jade and Lebogang Lejoy. Okay, all right.